All right, so the next advanced sales tactic we are going to be discussing is assumptions. Essentially, what assumptions is every time you are assuming something correctly, they are going to perceive you as the expert. Like, you know that. So we use this by, let's say, for example, we know for a fact that their bills have been increasing. We say, hey, you probably noticed your bill increasing. And they're like, yeah, like, huh, how did you know my bill was increasing? So when we say these words and they're like, holy cow, he already knows so much about my situation and I didn't tell him anything. He's the expert. He's done a lot of these, I should trust him. So we use assumptions when there's something that we know for a fact, and instead of saying like for example, let's just say that we know that they have heard of Sunrun, okay? We're not going to say, have you heard of Sunrun before? And then they're going to say, yes, we could, but wouldn't it be more effective to be like, yeah, you've probably heard of Sunrun before? And then they go, yes. Like, you know that I know, like what you're doing is you are perceiving yourself as the expert, and this is something that you already know the information to. However, you got to be careful with this because every time you assume correctly, think of it as a +1 point to your character of being an expert, but every time you assume incorrectly, it's -2. It's going to hurt their perception of you. So ways that we can assume incorrectly is where we say things like, yeah, that looks like a brand new roof you got up there. Did you get it like within the last 10 years or so? And they're like, no, we got it 20 years ago. Like, I guess you don't know too much about roofs then, do you? As in, like, I'm not going to be perceived as the expert in that case because I assumed incorrectly. So be careful when it comes to assuming. Really what you want to do is you want to only assume things that are easy assumptions, stuff you know the answers to. This is similar to micro agreements where you want to work your way up with it. So you can start with the smaller ones and make it easy for yourself to be perceived as the expert. Where we say things like, yeah, you've probably noticed your bill increasing. Yep, have you heard of Sunrun before? You probably haven't heard of Sunrun before, because where we're working right now, not a lot of people have. And essentially what we're doing is we're getting those small wins, so then later down the road, if we make bigger assumptions, it'll get to the point where if we train them unconsciously to perceive us as the expert, we could probably say things like, yeah, it's one of those things where you've probably looked into it before, you just never pulled it, you just never done it because there was too much money, right? They might not have even looked into solar before, but since they're so used to us assuming correctly, they'll probably be like, yeah, you're right, I've never done it because of I didn't want to spend all that money. So it's almost as if now we can start speaking for them, since every other time we spoke for them, we were correct, to where they're going to start unconsciously being trained to saying yes and letting us speak for them. And then we could use this in cases where we're like, hey, like I said, where it's like, hey, you probably didn't want to spend all that money out of pocket, right? They're like, yeah, okay, well, hey, if that's the case, well, I have you here, there's this brand new program. I'm the expert, I already know you didn't want to spend all that money, here's the new program. Assumptions are vital and they're very key when it comes to getting yourself perceived as the expert. Just remember, use them as easily as you can. Make sure you get those small wins, and then you can work your way up to sooner or later you're going to be able to speak for them and they will listen to what you say.